Hey guys, how's it going? Let's talk about The Last Duel. The Last Duel is a 2021 film directed by Ridley Scott, distributed by 20th Century Studios, starring Matt Damon, Ben Affleck, Adam Driver, and Jodie Comer, among other actors that I will talk about at some point later in this retrospective, because of course this is not a review, this is a British fans retrospective, thoughts and opinions on this film. We are back to the spoiler free reviews, guys. I know that the last few have been with a little bit of spoilers in there, but this one has no spoilers in there whatsoever. The Last Duel is a 2021 adaptation of the 2004 book, The Last Duel, a true story of trial by combat in medieval France, that was written by American author Eric Yeager. The book was based on the last official judicial duel fought in France in the 1300s. Now, although this film was decent, it was a box office flop. The film was actually initially released in December 2020. In fact, it was released on Christmas Day. It was a limited release, and then it went worldwide on January the 8th, 2021. This was because of the issues worldwide, and then on October the 15th, this film was released eventually to the public. I've seen it advertised a few times, but I never got a chance to watch it until today. My opinions on the film I'll talk about in a second. Like I said, this stars Matt Damon, Ben Affleck. It also stars the actor Michael McElhatton, and I just can't seem to get away from this guy right now. And for those that do not know who this guy is, he was Roose Bolton. I referred to him as Bruce Bolton before, but he was Roose Bolton in the Game of Thrones series. And he's also in the Wheel of Time pilot episode where he plays the father of Rand al'Thor. It also stars Jodie Comer, like I said, and she seems to be picking up quite a few acting roles over the last year or so. She was in The Last Duel, and she was also in Free Guy with Ryan Reynolds not long ago. Matt Damon, Ben Affleck speak for themselves. But yeah, this is a medieval film. It's set in the medieval times of medieval France, medieval Europe. Ridley Scott directed this, and I have over the years watched a few of Ridley Scott's films, and I have to say that he has directed quite a few massive films, and I mean massive as in films that have just lasted the test of time, if you know what I mean. And he is a Sir Ridley Scott, and I apologise if I have caused any offence to that. I have only just realised that he actually is a Sir, and deservedly so. My thoughts on this film I will get to in a second, but I'll say that with all the things that I've just put together there, the fact that it's directed by Ridley Scott, the fact that you've got actors like Ben Affleck, you've got actors like Matt Damon in this film, $100 million, this film should have probably grossed more than 28 million at the box office, because 28 million, that's like a quarter of its budget, and it's not great. I don't think the film is as bad as what it looks like in that situation. I think that maybe it just wasn't the right time, or people didn't click on. It might not have been promoted properly. I've got no idea really going into it, but everything seems to point towards this becoming a juggernaut in the future. Like, I may be over exaggerating that, but it seems to me like this film, although there are some things in this film that I personally myself didn't like, this, once again, and I'm saying this again, is more than likely going to turn out to be one of them films that really, really get more popular as time goes by. Now we are coming up to the halfway mark in this video, we should get to the actual thoughts and opinions on this film. Like I said, guys, this film was directed by Ridley Scott, so you should already know what you're getting into here, and it involves medieval times, sword fights, sword play, war in the medieval times across Europe, etc. So there's a lot to get entertained by in this film. There is also a overlining plot twist of betrayal and love and friendship and people who might not be as popular as others, but they're more loyal, etc., etc. The way that man can be able to manipulate himself into even believing his own lies. He can manipulate other people into believing his lies. How one man who, because he might not be the most friendliest of people, can be looked down upon, but somebody who is very sly and very untrustworthy can be looked at as a friend because he's more popular, etc. There's also indications in this film of, you know, more arranged marriages and how women don't necessarily have to love the men that they're with, they just have to put up with them. And there is even more to that in this film. There is suggestion in this film that some women are in no way attracted to the men that they are with, and there is no actual love in these marriages. They are basically just to get more children and heirs to whatever possessions and worldly goods that you have. There is also a very strong message in this film as well, that one's actions towards another without their consent in a certain environment is not, and never will be right. And if you understand what I mean, because I will not mention certain words or certain behavior on my channel, you will know what I'm talking about. And like I said, if you've watched this film, you will know exactly what the message is. And even back then in the medieval times, they even highlight that a woman could not even say anything about a man without being backed up by her own husband, or, you know, yeah, basically her husband, because a single woman, I can't even imagine what standpoint that they even had in this medieval time. And like I said, it is a medieval film. It's based in the past. It's stories of people from a time that's supposed to be long forgotten, although there is some behavior in this that I would say is still in our modern society. The selfishness, the blindness, the judgmentalness of people, how they can turn the blind eye on one's behavior but not on another one's behavior, even though they may be doing the same thing. Without a shadow of a doubt, though, there is some great entertaining moments in this film, especially the hand-to-hand and sword-to-sword combat that you get to see, because there are various situations that take place, battles and sieges of certain areas in the medieval period, in the medieval times. It also exposes some bizarre beliefs of people in the ancient times, and, you know, before science started to actually prove that these people were completely incorrect. And it goes to show how corrupt that mankind can be based on the word of somebody who preaches something or works for a certain person. And of course, like I say, in the medieval times, we all know that there was a hierarchy of things, a hierarchy that still exists to this day, but there is just more freedom for people. Well, some would say more freedom, but of course, some would argue that that is not actually true. Something that I actually didn't like was the fact that the film was separated into 3 different chapters. It was basically the testaments of each character. Now, one of the testaments only featured certain overlapping things, and of course, they did that one first. And then the next 2 chapters featured a story that overlapped and entwined and contradicted the other person's story, etc. And it was quite confusing, but it wasn't enough to make the film unwatchable, so to speak. But let's get down to the nitty-gritty. I enjoyed what I seen of this film. Like I said, the separate into parts, I'm not a huge fan of that, because it loses you at certain points and you didn't get a definitive answer to certain things in the film. And with all that being weighed up, overall, I'm going to give this film a solid 8 out of 10. I do strongly believe that it will be one of those films that people will look back on, but I seem to be saying that all the time. Please like, share, subscribe, and stay tuned for more.